All right, everybody, welcome back. New year, same format, answering your questions. We have two questions today. I'm going to go with the lighter one first and then the heavier one. On the lighter side, why is the incarnation symbolized with a heart? The heart is certainly a symbol that symbolizes like an interior life and almost like just a humanity, right? Without our heart, we would not be alive. It is the beating portion of our lives that constantly remind us of our life. So the incarnation, which is when God becomes man and is fully divine, fully human, is symbolized by that heart because it's a reminder to us that God took on that flesh, right? That symbol of the heart reminds us of that actuality of a beating life. But at the same time, it has more of a symbolic meaning in the sense that Jesus came for our hearts. He took on flesh and became man and suffered and died so that our hearts and our lives can be united to his. So I can't really think of a better symbol for the fact that Jesus took on flesh so that we might have life than just the fact that it's a heart. And then how do you leave feeling despair? This is a very good question. A very hard question. So let's try to tackle it a little. Now, when it comes to something like despair, what is it really? It's the opposite of hope in a certain sense. So hope is ultimately trusting and knowing that in the end, the Lord's got you, and that it's sort of like this, the idea of fear of the Lord, right? It's a gift of the Holy Spirit. It's something of like just living in awe and wonder of who God is. And there's sort of a hope that's within that of God, you are God and I am not. But a despair oftentimes inverts that and puts us in on ourselves and just reminds us constantly, in a sense, that we're not enough. So if you're in that place of constantly feeling like you can't get out of that feeling, that you're not enough, that you're whatever the scenario is, right? Sometimes there's something that happens to us, a trauma that occurs that leads us to despair. Sometimes it's just like constantly thinking and taking pity upon ourselves, sort of this self-pity of, man, like I'm just not good enough. So despair can come from multiple places, but wherever it's coming from, how do we seek to get out of it? Okay, well, one, you're not going to be able to do anything without the Lord. That hope requires, that inverse of despair, hope requires God. God has to be in the equation. So number one, pray. Just bring it to the Lord and continue to converse with the Lord about how you're feeling. Tell him how you're feeling. I know he knows, but he wants to hear it. So tell the Lord what's going on and seek out help. If you actually need someone to help lift you out of this and you can't seem to do it yourself, maybe that's counseling, maybe that's seeking the help of a good friend, maybe a priest, whatever it is that's needed to be able to seek help outside of yourself helps us to recognize sometimes when we're overthinking things or when the scenario is not actually how we're seeing it, whatever it may be that's leading you to that despair. Sometimes it helps to just discuss it. And lastly, I think when it comes to that idea of we're not enough or just that we're not capable, which often leads to that despair, or whatever it may be that's leading to it, oftentimes getting out of ourselves. So going to serve the needs of others, whether that's a friend who needs you, or like literally just like going down to a soup kitchen or serving with a club at your school, or just simply being with other people, bringing ourselves out of ourselves, because oftentimes our despair just encourages us to go inwards, and Satan definitely uses that to try to just push us in on ourselves. And how do we combat that? Is we go out of ourselves. And that reminds us sometimes that there is hope, that ultimately we are good and we are enough. And we can only get that sometimes by just moving out of our current state of being. So thank you for asking such a brave question. That is a question that I think all of us ask at some point in our lives. But honestly, if you need help, seek it. Don't just put a question in a question box. come talk. I am here for you guys. I have resources to be able to get you help however it's needed. But if you're feeling despair, know that there is hope, and it's found in the Lord, and it can be found. It's just going to take movement. It's going to take getting out of that cycle and just breaking that cycle. So do what you can to break it, and the Lord He's going to provide. He's going to remind you that you are enough. So know that you're loved, know that you're good, know that you're enough. We're praying for you, and we love you guys, and let us know if there's anything that you ever need.